All right, Johnny, our takes on OTAs, which stands for, because I get this question every year multiple times, Organized Team Activities. Why can't we just call it practice, off-season practice? I don't know. It just has an OTA branding, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's off-season practice. It's OP, Ocean Pacific, I guess.
I don't know if OP works either.
Hey,
but,
are you guys going to be here for OPs? No, that's not. You're probably not.
It does not sound good at all.
Does not roll off the tongue.
Okay, give me a quickie general take on what you saw.
I try not to be hyperbolic.
Okay.
Try not to. But I noticed this the other day just walking in the cafeteria and the players were walking. I was kind of walking against the flow, going against the flow. They were going into the meeting room. I was walking out of the cafeteria. And I just happened to kind of look around at the level of athlete, the build of players that are in this building now, and it's a different level. It's a different looking level in all facets. You just look across and go, man, we have not had that level of athlete across the board.
Right.
Since I've been here. I mean, it's just looking at the defensive backs and how, 6 foot, 6'1", 185, 190, long, tall, can run. Watching Joe Mixon run the football like a running back can move that way? Like a running back can run that fast? Really? That's loud? Holy smokes. So I just feel like the level of athlete has improved so much more since Nick Caserio has got here in particular, and obviously when D'Amico Ryans got here last year as well. They have just raised the level of athleticism on this team in a big, big way.
Yeah, I felt like that too. I felt the level of professionalism, execution, 7-on-7. I've seen a lot of 7-on-7s around here. And
do you want to say what you told me?
I've never seen a 7-on-7 that good. That sharp. Schaub and Rosenfels used to have outstanding 7-on-7s where the ball didn't hit the ground.
Right.
Today, though, C.J. Stroud was throwing lasers. It's C.J. Stroud.
Right.
I think we all agree, as good as Matt was and Sage could be, that C.J.'s a better quarterback. And he was throwing ropes, just frozen theater ropes all over the place and right into the hands of guys. And there was one drop late, but I don't know if the ball touched the ground during 7-on-7s. Now, 11-on-11 is a different thing. I think he's taken some risks, some shots, experimentation. They looked fine, but it is what it is. It's OTAs. There's no real contact. There's no real pass rush. There is some pressure, though. The D lineman, Will Anderson, don't tell him about pads, no pads, no contact. He enjoys being in that offensive backfield. So I just thought level of professionalism, execution. What do I go by with this offseason? That this is the most exciting and most anticipated season that we've had as far as the offseason hype goes since 2012, since going into the 2012 campaign, coming off 2011 and all that. That 2011 team had 16 Pro Bowlers on it, guys who had either been, would go, or went that year, whatever the case may be. I don't know about this team, how many they have or will have, but they're going to have a lot. And I think this is the most talent we've seen since then and maybe ever, the way it'll play out. So people should be excited. This is a good football team. This is a good football team you're seeing right here, or you have in this city, and we'll see where it takes them. They got to go out and execute.
Yeah, no doubt. A tough schedule. We've talked about that many times. You talk about that 7-on-7 situation. The one thing that always stood out to me, and I used to get frustrated with Matt a little bit. I didn't mind it, but I shouldn't say I didn't mind it. I minded it in 7-on-7. I didn't mind it in a game, and I've always talked about that in a game. Look, any profit, pennies add up, nickels add up. You can't always go get the $5 bill every
compound
single
interest.
Throw. Right. So Matt would take a few checkdowns during 7-on-7. Now he would hit the out route to Andre. He did something on the other sideline. He did that, but he would take 2 or 3 checkdowns in 7-on-7. C.J. Stroud was not taking a check down on 7-on-7. He was ripping throws on the glance route, down the field, out routes. He threw a dime down the field. I thought it was him that threw that deep ball on the far left side that wasn't caught.
Yes, that was him.
I think that was him. I mean, that ball was right on the freaking money. And the one he threw to Nico on a glance route was fantastic because you can see CJ look off the safety and then immediately get right back to Nico and zip it. The balls were thrown all over the place. No checkdowns. They were all 10 yards or more down the field, the throws he was making in 7-on-7.
He threw one to Tank, and you and I were both laughing. It was so good. It was so good. because he threw it way out in front of Tank,
Right.
where Tank could run into it.
Right.
And it wasn't one of those run under a rainbow throws.
Right.
It was a dart
Yep.
that Tank caught up to, and the two have this great chemistry. We already know this. And how about that? That's a headline here.
That's
Tank
a
Dell out
massive
there
headline.
running full speed, making plays, catching punts, doing whatever it takes. Now, there are numerous guys trying to catch punts here today.
Yeah.
So let's not
There's a
think
bunch.
that Tank Dell's the only one who's going to do this before you overreact about Tank Dell catching punts. He looks fine. If you didn't know what happened,
Right.
you'd never know anything happened.
The guy got shot, I don't know how many weeks ago. Let's just be honest. He got shot in the leg, his moneymaker.
Yeah.
And he's back at OTAs seemingly full speed.
No bandage, no nothing that I saw.
I'm dumbfounded. I mean, these guys that want to talk about, I played with a hangnail on my pinky. Yeah, you're tough. My guy got shot and is back at practice. We're talking about practice. Practice? We're talking about practice.
Yep.
He's back at practice after being shot. I didn't think that I could love Tank Dell any more than I already did. Loved him at University of Houston. Obviously a Texan, just love what he stands for, love who he is. And then seeing him out of OTAs, you and I and Drew happened to be walking out. We were walking out with Jake Hansen. We were kind of talking about some things, and then looked up and was like, hey, there's Tank, and he's got his helmet.
Yeah.
Is he going to practice?
Yeah.
And there he is practicing. Now,
Not gonna miss it.
Is he totally full go? I don't know. We don't know.
That looked pretty full to me.
Looked pretty darn good. So we'll see where where that goes. But you're right. The guy was shot weeks ago. I don't know how many weeks ago was that. 3-4 weeks ago, and he's back at practice.
Yeah, he's coming back from an injury anyway.
Yeah. So to see him out there, and he didn't get a ton of 11-on-11 reps, which I understand. But what I liked seeing, and you know how I feel about this, I love all the different 11 personnel combinations you can have. I love seeing the 12 personnel combinations you can have. 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 3 receivers, 1 back. 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, 1 back. And just the combinations that they could put out there. Okay, it's Robert Woods with Nico with Metchie with this one. Okay,
Right.
It's Tank and Nico on this one. It's Robert and Nico. It's X with Metchie and Woods. And look, there are a number of guys that weren't out there, and we talked about that yesterday. You're going to see those tweets. You saw them. You found out all the names of guys that weren't out there. It's voluntary. We don't lose sleep over it. Guys are doing their work. And they're going to come in here ready to go when they have mini camp, whichever week that is. Mini camp, a couple weeks from now. But, man, the passing game looked really good. There was a throw from, I think it was Davis to X. They were going R left to right, and they used some motion to kind of pull down the safety in the corner to kind of get them to adjust. The backside safety, I don't think, adjusted well enough. And X just ran right into the void, and I think it was Davis, and Davis just threw him a laser shot. And you get to thinking, man, we add Diggs to what we already have. And what if Xavier Hutchinson starts making strides? What if Metchie takes those strides? What do you do then?
Yeah.
It's like one of the better problems to have. Now, like you've said a million times, I hate it when you say it because it's 1,000% true. Injuries sometimes solve the problem. I hope it doesn't. I would love to be able to have all these guys in the mix because the way they look now, Metchie, that's another one. I don't know if that's quite the headline that Tank is. I'll let you take it then because John Metchie I thought looked pretty good.
I wrote down, I was doing one-word notes. I wasn't being like you. I was writing down one word. I wrote down one for Kalen Bullock. I'm going to tell you that later.
Okay.
But I wrote down spry for Metchie.
Good work.
Metchie looked like there was an extra spring in his step.
Yeah.
He was running very well, ran a deep route very well. And look, I know he played in games last year. He had catches. It just didn't seem like that was the Metchie they felt like they were getting and he felt like he wanted to be coming out of Alabama. Obviously, going through what he went through takes a big toll. Coming back from an injury anyway on top of that or underneath that, big deal. So maybe it takes a while. Remember C.J. Stroud, when the offseason program began, was talking about Metchie looking really sharp. I saw what he was talking about. Metchie looked really sharp.
Yep.
Metchie is don't forget about me guy. When you have Diggs, Tank, Nico, etc., Metchie is here to say, I want to play too. Give me the rock. I'm going to be able to make plays for this football team. We'll see how it all goes, but I was really encouraged, if not excited, about what I saw from John Metchie.
Okay, I mentioned it kind of in passing a little bit. I want to expand on it a little bit. Joe Mixon.
Yep.
First of all, I remember when he came in here for our interview and shook his hand. I'm like, his idol is Adrian Peterson. Like, that's why he went to Oklahoma. That's why he wore 28, because that's what Adrian Peterson wore. Like, Adrian Peterson is his guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's got Adrian Peterson's handshake. I mean, his hands are strong. He is put together like a Greek Adonis. And so he's been in the league a little bit. And so you're like, okay, what kind of juice does he have? He took the first handoff and he shot through the line of scrimmage and took off. And I was like, I was almost taken aback. Like, what? I've been on the sidelines for I've seen Joe Mixon in action.
Yeah.
I think it's just seeing him now for us. It's like, whoa, that seems so out of place compared to what we've had at the running back position lately.
Yeah.
We haven't had guys with that kind of juice. Well, not like that.
Think about this. As good as Devin was, I don't want to take away from anything we've seen over the last few years.
Understood.
And Pierce's 2022 season, and even Lamar Miller and Carlos Hyde. This is the best back they've had in-house since Arian, right?
Yes.
The best back they've had in-house. Now, how it all goes, we'll find out.
Sure.
But you're looking at a guy who's a proven vet. Now, you didn't get Barkley, you didn't get Derrick Henry. You got Joe Mixon, who's outstanding and was part of a Super Bowl team and all of that, and a really great offense in this league. And now he's with you. So you should get excited about that.
He's just different. He's different from what you've had because there's no, what's the right way I can say this on the radio? There's no half-stepping with him. Like, he took every handoff, and it was like it was the third quarter of the Super Bowl. I mean, he is downhill in a hurry. And I think that, more than anything, will help this offensive line. No matter how it's configured, and obviously today we looked out there and like, okay, there's no Titus, there's no Laramie, there was no Shaq. So there were the combinations of what you think the starting offensive line is going to be wasn't really there. But still, you saw Mixon take the ball and just go. There was no dancing. There was no hesitation. There was, I will read this on the run. And, man, it was fun to watch thinking about what he can actually bring to this offense and the way that he can get downhill. But I'll make sure I say this clearly, too. Dameon Pierce and D'Amico Ryans talked about Dameon. Dameon Pierce looks much more comfortable in this offense and just how he's moving around. Had caught probably 2 or 3 passes during 11-on-11 and a couple in 7-on-7. And D'Amico talked about it. Hey, what if you get essentially a 1-2 combination, a 1-2 punch with Mixon and Pierce, and Dameon can get back to what he looked like in 2022, and Mixon stays healthy? Man, wow.
Johnny,
holy smokes.
Not only can you do it, you need to do it.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to have a 2 in the 1-2 punch.
Right.
Mixon's 1. Pierce has to be 2,
right,
or Jawar Jordan or Dare or somebody else is going to have to step up and be the 2. You need 2 backs minimum to make noise here, and I'd love to see 3 or 4 for that matter.
Just have
Jawar
options,
Jordan, like you would say, not so much on the hoof, but out there at OTAs, running with the football, he looked fast.
Yep.
Now, look, it's OTAs, not padded, whatever, but it was fun. It was fun to see him. I can't wait to see him when they get in pads at training camp and in these preseason games because the preseason games are must-see TV. You know these guys are going to end up playing. It always happens in this league. So you're going to rest a lot of these starters, or they're going to get minimal reps at best. You have 4 preseason games because you have the Hall of Fame game August 1st. They have not released an official training camp start date. I would put it 17th, 18th, 19th, something in around there. That Thursday, Friday, 2 weeks prior to the Hall of Fame game. But you're going to see a lot of those young players, and I cannot wait. Jawar Jordan's somebody to get really enthusiastic about heading into 2024. All right, I've got some hidden, not so hidden, but important things to point out. I think they're important. Andrew Beck didn't practice today for whatever reason.
Right.
Troy Hairston's back.
Yeah.
He missed last year with the injury. This is a hammerhead fullback who has pass-catching skills, who transferred, who switched from the D-line to a fullback position.
He transferred.
He transferred. He was in the position portal and became a fullback after playing on the D-line at Central Michigan. And he looks physically built. And he was
like a tank.
He was here all last year working on his body, rehab, getting ready for his 2024. Well, here it is. And I'm really interested to see what he can do in this offense, how well he picks it up. Can he embrace the pass-catching part of it? How much of a threat or competition counterpart he is to Andrew Beck? This is going to be one of those storylines in training camp.
Yeah, speaking of looking, good body types. Mike Eubanks has done some work with this group. I mean, they have developed one player in particular. A lot of people have asked me about it. I've asked you about it. I've had a lot of questions about. Is Kenyon Green.
Yeah,
and there's you see him today. He's wearing number 76.
Yeah,
he's got the white long sleeves and he's got the black wrist braces, and it's a dead ringer for Dwayne Brown. I mean, I was like, whoa. But what stood out to me the most is he got the message. He got the message. He's like, go get rehabbed, go get it right, and then once you're done rehabbing, build the body.
I think your message was their message because this is what you were saying. Yeah. Since you have to sit, get the body right. Heal everything.
Get everything
and
right.
Start over.
Absolutely.
Hit the reset button in your career.
Now, does that translate to play on the field? We'll find out.
Yeah.
I always felt like Kenyon Green was a really, really, really good football player. Really liked him at A&M. I wasn't the only one that thought that. There were a lot of people. If Kenyon Green would have been around 2 more picks, the Chargers were going to take him. You know, there were a lot of people that loved Kenyon Green. But he had to get his body right. And I think he's finally getting to a point, year 3. Remember Jadeveon Clowney, year 3? Jadeveon Clowney, first year, obviously, all his injuries. There was maybe some things he'd had in the past. Get those all fixed. Comes back in 15, wasn't quite ready. Still missed some time. Says at the end of 15, I'm going to come back in 16 and wreck the league. And he did. 2016, he was like, oh, man, okay, this is why we drafted this guy number 1. And I think that could be the same case for Kenyon. Young dude, had to get his body right, had to rehab everything that ailed him. And if he can stay healthy now and stack days one after the other, Kenyon Green's going to end up being that first-round pick and play at that level that we expected a couple of years ago. So to see him today, and we've seen him at different points, but to see him in his uniform today, I was like, ooh, okay, yeah, got the message. Now it's just ascend, continue to ascend from here and be that guy, because if Kenyon Green solves the left guard problem just as simple as former first-rounder, light goes on, he goes in a left guard, oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
Now all of a sudden the pieces start to fall into place and you're like, okay, let's rock.
Well, you have such valuable depth if you can get that to happen. And
absolutely.
That's written in the script based on where you drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
You want him to be there, and we'll see if he can make that happen for himself. You know, with no Titus and Laramie out there, it's great to see Blake Fisher getting all those starting reps with the right tackle position. Charlie Heck's manning things at left tackle because he's the swing guy anyway, as it's written right now.
Right.
And why not work out Fisher at right tackle? Because that's probably an area. It's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Titus is a tackle, correct? Yes.
Yes.
But
yes.
if
Everybody's
Fisher
nodding.
plays great, I don't know what you do, but, you know, like you said, let the pieces fall into place.
Mm-hmm.
It'll all take shape during training camp somehow, some way. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about the rookies. We talked about Jawar Jordan a bit, but let's get into some of the other guys who were drafted higher. That is coming up here on Texans Radio.